Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 55. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, the Canardian, Mark Carabin. How you doing, Mark? I'm
good. I am super excited, as always, to talk about video games with my good buddy Todd. And I don't know why. It felt today I was like that it had been a while since we recorded or something. So I'm like, yeah, my wife asked me which show it was, and I was like, it's finally Co-op Mode. And she was like, that was like 2 weeks ago. You do a show every week. And I don't know. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
And Mark, I believe you are now doing Holocron Chronicles every other week and Co-op Mode every other week.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have a weekly podcast schedule, and I just alternate between you and Charlie and get my Secret Friends fix. And we're super excited to bring Holocron Chronicles bi-weekly, same as this show. And it fits into my schedule, one podcast a week, along with everything else with Finn and work and everything. So it's good. I've settled into a pretty good schedule here.
Excellent. Well, you know what is also excellent? When we have a guest.
Yeah.
Co-op couch. And we have an awesome one this week because we're going to get the inside view on the world of streaming games. And that is with Mr. Avery Krouse from Stadia Source podcast. Welcome, Avery.
Hello. So good to be on the couch. It's a nice, comfy couch, I got to say. The co-op couch. I wouldn't have picked these throw pillows, but, exciting to be here anyways.
I vacuumed it out, and I made sure I Febrezed it after my son sat on it. Teenagers stink.
Well, I'm so glad you invited me on, and excited to talk all kinds of video games in addition to Stadia. I only ever get to talk about Stadia on my channel, so I'm excited to talk about just about anything today.
Awesome. So you're new, and to really make you official, you have to tell people about how you became the geek you are, either in video games, things you like that are nerdy. Tell us all about it.
Well, I grew up a poor child in the backwoods of Tennessee, which is highly true because I did. And I came from a NASCAR and WWE household. And so that I turned out the nerd I am, the Broadway musical loving, D&D playing, streaming technology nerd that I did.
Wow, you really fit the stereotype, don't you?
Yeah, Southern boys will survive on Wicked apparently. So yeah, I grew up in the I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up in the NES, SNES era. Cut my teeth on the RPGs of yore. My favorite game of all time to this date remains Secret of Evermore for the SNES. A role-playing game that very few people played, hence the reason there was never a sequel to it, but that remains probably, I don't know if it's my top one, but probably top five, but played every last numerical and non-numerical installment of the Final Fantasy series, huge RPG guy, but also I will play practically any video game that gets in front of me, other than not a big sports and racing person, but puzzles, adventures, actions, shooters, whatever, but RPGs being kind of my favorite. And of course, I had my high school D&D group. I joined the choir. I joined the drama club. I was Big Brother in our production of 1984. How relevant. And so yeah, the nerd runs deep in me, and even unto today, an entire bookshelf in my house is nothing but board games, and behind me on the shelf are an entire stack of Stadia controllers. So I am very, very much reveling in the nerdessance that we are all enjoying right now. I'm very happy that it exists, and of course, the other aspect to my nerdery, we specifically took time out of our honeymoon, my wife and I did, in 2019, because our honeymoon was a cruise, and when it docked was the release of Endgame. So
yes,
we got off the boat and immediately went to a movie theater. So that's my nerdery there.
And
Excellent.
instantly, Charlie wants to have you on Secret Friends Unite.
my
I'm sure the
goodness.
second this gets out.
Yes, you've earned your nerd cred, and you've earned a pass on to Secret Friends. Yes.
Yeah. One more week, we're going to have to skip the segment of Mark Carabin's Go Sports because no one plays sports games here.
I tried. I played.
I will say, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of those modern football games. Like Tecmo Bowl.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's
modern
my
masterpieces.
Last one that I played personally.
Yeah.
Well, that and NBA Jam, but
Oh yeah. I mean, you gotta love NBA Jam.
Boom shakalaka, sir. Boom shakalaka. I'm gonna pause right now because my dog got a pencil. I don't know how he got a pencil. What is this? Is this 1922?
I think he got it from downtown.
He's taking it to the hoop. He's on fire. Oh God, that dog's on fire.
Die?
You know what needs to come back? Because like NBA kind of came back, like NBA Jam.
And that's why I hate that guy. Oh wait, he's back and he's got his headphones on.
Seriously,
hey, there we go.
What is he doing? I mean, come on. Where did he find a pencil? Oh, my son.
Writing the next great American novel.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
That's it.
Yes, put 15 dogs in front of typewriters, and that's what they'll do.
Looney Tunes basketball needs to come back. Now that we've got like this sort of NBA Jam kind of revival.
I didn't see. Was there a trailer for NBA Jam, by the way, or the Space Jam? Was there a trailer for that?
Space Jam 2.
I missed it.
Was there a trailer? No, I didn't see it. The only trailer I watched from yesterday was the Bucky and the thing.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That's the one.
Gotcha.
Bring
Okay, sorry. And Avery, I edit this. I edit this heavily, so by all means, we get interrupted. I've got dogs. Mark has wild babies that come up, and
I have a small cat outside the door, wondering why I'm not letting him in right now. So.
Exactly. Yeah, my dog is in right now because my wife and my son are at Taekwondo, and if I shut the door, all I would hear is paw, 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 yell, and bark. So I'm like, he's here now until they show up, and then I'll mute them. Oh well, so we can get into this. Awesome. This is going really well. So we will move on, and I'll go in 5, 4, 3.
Sorry. Before you have resumed, do I need to? I didn't say anything about Stadia Source there. Do I need to do that there or later?
Oh yeah, when we come back, just say yeah. And by the way, I'm from Stadia Source, or however you want to do it, so it doesn't get missed. So we'll go from there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And of course, I as of the birth of game streaming and all of that, I've taken up with a little outfit called Stadia Source. Our tagline is your number one source for Stadia news and reviews, which is true. You guys, you get to be the people that know this before anybody else. By the time this episode comes out, we will have crossed the 3 million visitor mark on StadiaSource.com.
Wow.
We just hit 1 million about 4 months ago, and that was after about a year. So we are the curve is strong, and so on Stadia Source we are the leading website for Google Stadia specific news, and for that organization I am the digital manager. So I handle our YouTube channel. Over Stream Team Dream Team, streaming on our YouTube channel all week long, and I'm the host of the Stadia Source Roundtable podcast, Thursday nights, streaming live on YouTube, and then we post it to all the favorite podcatchers that you know, love, and or hate. It's super fun to kind of be on the inside of the vanguard of streaming and get an idea of that. I know we have that to talk about later.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and if you missed it when Avery talked about where you can catch him now, you'll hear about it at the end of the show as well. So, but all means, if you've got questions about Stadia, guys, definitely you'll know how to follow him, ask those questions. If you want to ask us, we'll ask him. We'll get you your answers on the world of streaming, and this is going to be awesome because it's kind of a blind spot for me and Mark, so this is really going to be exciting. So we'll try not to be too dumb in this arena, but hopefully ask intelligent questions along the way. So let's get into what we've been playing. So Avery, we do a little bit of a round table. So basically you'll do one game. We'll go so we basically kind of cover any bases and ask questions. So what have you been playing?
Well, I have been trekking my way through merry old England in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, playing that on Stadia, of course. And the deeper I get into it, the more I'm not sure I like it. Which is real tough because normally it's almost like, they say if you start eating a food that you're not used to, eventually it kind of grows on you. And Valhalla is doing the opposite. Like I loved Odyssey. Odyssey was one of my favorite games of the past couple of years. I played straight through the whole thing. It was the first game I ever bought on Stadia, and I played it straight start to finish on Stadia. Loved every minute of it. And Valhalla just seems like the old Viking dirt fields it's doing, it's replicating, it feels like it's just becoming muddier and sloggier as it goes along. I've spoken to several people who kind of have felt the same way. Like the first couple of hours are a little slow, and then it picks up, and then it just slows right back down again. And so I don't know. I don't quit games. Like, I'm not a person that will start a game and quit. I'm a person that will play one game and play it until I'm done. Like, I won't start a book unless I finish that book. I won't start a movie unless I finish that movie. I still have not watched Game of Thrones because I know that I have like 80 hours I have to deal with, or 40 or 60 or however much it is. And so I'm not going to start it, because the second I start it, I'm going to have to finish it. It's also how my wife has gotten me into things like Legacies and the Vampire Diaries, because once you start it, so yeah, I don't know about Valhalla. I don't know yet. I'm going to give it maybe 10 more hours at best.
So Mark did a review on it, and I think I finally left Scandinavian countries. I think I'm finally there, and I haven't gone back to it yet. So I've just been ran rampant by other games. But Mark, you did you finish the game, or did you say I made a review based on getting enough of it?
Yeah, I did not completely finish the game, but I got pretty darn far in the game, enough that I felt that I could make an assessment of it. And I mentioned that in my review that I was not done because it was just such a massive, massive game. And I do want to go back. And I was actually, just before we started recording, talking to my brother about this game and comparing it to Immortals Phoenix Rising, both of which are on sale right now on PSN, and I think they're on sale on Xbox as well. And he just got his PlayStation 5, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, he was asking me which one I liked better, and I was like, I think I liked Immortals better. And he was like, really, you, who has been crazy addicted to any Assassin's Creed game, even the ones that everyone else hated since they came out, you're telling me that you liked this other game better. I was like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, anytime I was sitting there, and I think, Todd, you said the same thing, like in our Game of the Year discussions, anytime you were sitting in front with a controller in your hand and you were trying to decide what to play, it was always Immortals over Valhalla. And I'm kind of similar, Avery. I'm trying to determine what the reasoning is there, and I can't quite put it into words, but there was just something, and maybe it was the bright colors and a new console and whatever that kept bringing me towards Immortals. But I liked Valhalla for sure. But yeah, when he asked me which one he should buy, I was like, all right, kind of like Immortals, maybe, kind of. But yeah, I think he ended up buying both because they're on sale. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know where the hook is in that game. Quite honestly, maybe you haven't found it yet either, Avery.
Really, axes and swords. There's not so many hooks.
No hooks. Okay. Zing.
But yeah, I think with the Odyssey had a more like defined, you're trying to kill everybody in the order. And then once you've done that, you finish the game. Mm-hmm. And as you go to do that, you're going to progress through the whole story, but that's the whole thing. Whereas this one has like the winning of the territories, which seems to be the main story, and the order is completely separate. It's almost as if I described it to somebody today, I think on Twitter, as if somebody at Ubisoft was making a Vikings game, and somebody else said it's not going to sell enough. Throw the Isu in there and give him R1 to assassinate. And and I'm like, if what they were going for was a historical Vikings game, do that. Get it sponsored by A&E or whichever one it was that produced the Vikings miniseries, and call it a day. It's not an Assassin's Creed game, and that's the thing that everybody has kind of stated about it, is it just really doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. Yeah. And having only played Odyssey, I don't really have room to talk about the other ones, but yeah, IFR is a whole other thing. IFR I am refusing to buy because I know I'm going to love it, and I know that I'm going to play. I know I'm going to get the Ubisoft Plus subscription at some point because it's on Stadia now, and you can just click play on any of those games in Ubisoft Plus, and you're done. And so I want to do that, but I have in my backlog Jedi Fallen Order and the Watch Dogs Legion and Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn and a bunch of other games that I haven't even started. So I can't do IFR yet, or all of those will go away and I will not.
That's the first time anybody called it IFR. I'm like,
yeah,
it's IFR.
We exclusively refer to it as Gods and Monsters. We over on our channel we refuse to call it by the new name. So
that's tough. I would play Fallen Order first and then jump into Phoenix Rising, I think, over the other two games that you mentioned, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, get a palate cleanser in there.
Yeah, for sure. It is so funny and light that it is a good palate cleanser. So, cool.
I enjoyed the demo. I played the demo on Stadia, which is still actually out there. If you haven't tried Stadia, the demo for Immortals Phoenix Rising is there. It's exclusive to Stadia. And I enjoyed it, and I know I will love that game. So I'm like, I am also the person that, like, Ubisoft games are terrible for me because I will not rest until every single dot on that map has been solved.
It'll never be done then.
That's tough.
And so I just can't. And Scarlet Stream, aka Carly, who is a guest on Secret Friends Unite, who is also on the Stadia Source team. That is her favorite game of all time. And
really,
she has played it extensively on our channel, and just watching her play it, I'm like, no, finish a game first, finish another game first. So that's the roughness that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, and that was our game of the year. That was basically we picked a top 5 and whatever was the highest of those games, and it took us by surprise. Ubisoft Canada was nice enough to give us codes, and we just had a blast. And I did play the demo on Stadia, so that was one of my most recent experiences with Stadia. Very good. So, Mark, Hades, I talked about this before. Now you're getting to experience. Where are you experiencing it on?
Switch. No PC for me, but it is such a great game, and yeah, we did mention this before that I picked it up over the holidays and didn't really get to play it with everything that was going on, but jumping in now, and I played it a little bit, and now I'm really jumping in. So I've done, and by really jumping in I mean probably 12 runs or so. So I know it, you can do like 30 runs or so before you actually kind of beat the story game, and then, more and more runs to keep going. So I know I'm still fairly early on in the progression of like escaping Hades or whatever, but holy shit, this game's just fantastic. Like the voice acting, like everything you do is just, it's progressing. And I think this has been said before, so I won't go too much on it, but in most roguelikes or roguelites, you still don't feel like you're progressing through. Like it's fun as an arcade kind of thing. And I'm someone that usually likes those type of games because I grew up going to the arcade where you pop in a quarter and you play as much as you can, and then you die, and then you pop in another quarter and you can continue, or you go the next time and you pop in a quarter and you start at the start again. And that's kind of like, to me, that loop doesn't break my brain as much as some other people hate it. But for this one, it's really hooking me because of that progression, and because when you meet someone after a run, they'll talk about what happened in that run, or they'll talk about what happened prior in the game or whatever, and it kind of keeps it going. So yes, while there is a lot of repetitive nature to it, as far as like just doing the runs, dying, starting over, whatever, I don't know, there's just something very, very special about it, and I finally understand why it was on so many Game of the Year lists. I wish I played it earlier, so this would have 100% made my top 5 for the last year, and I'm like, I've been mentally trying to arrange like what would have gotten kicked off, and you'd think like number 5, I guess, would probably get kicked off in my list. I can go back and look at that, but I don't know exactly where it would fall yet, because like I said, I am still fairly early, but what a great game. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, the narrative is the hook that most roguelites don't have, and that game has it in spades, and it's Supergiant, and they are just experts in just capturing that narrative experience, and I love it. And yeah, it's a game I haven't played enough of, but I want to. But I heard it's just one of those things where it's a roguelike, but it essentially rewards you with giving you the ability to improve, and then find your path. And then, it's interaction. So really excited about that one to play more. My game this week is called that I really loved and actually completed. And I was telling you, Mark, as I was playing this, because it was leaving Xbox Game Pass. I think only on PC. And that's a game called Gree. My wife made sure I could pronounce this correctly because it's actually
I'm more a fan of Gree 2 with John Travolta.
Oh no!
But that's just.
Thank you
Sorry
for that. Yeah. So Gree, it looks like Greece, Gris, and the reason it's called that is because it's Gree is apparently a foreign language version of gray, the color. My wife is a multilingual person. I am not. I speak English and American, I guess you would say it, Mark. I don't know. Do you guys speak Canadian? Maybe.
Yes. Our alphabet starts with EH instead of A.
And ends with Z.
The rest is pretty similar. Yeah. Z exactly. Instead of Z. So really makes it weird when you're talking about a ZZ Top album. But otherwise, yeah, we're pretty good.
You did that. This game.
I will say it could be Greece if it's Spanish, because it is Gris in French, but it's Greece in Spanish. So
what is it? Right. My Spanish from high school has been lost. I will not torture that. I will not offend anyone in any community that speaks anything other than American.
My Spanish is my wife and my father-in-law, so I have plenty of Spanish.
Yep.
I am the anti-Ricky Ricardo. So.
Yes. My wife is Filipino, and Spanish is a huge part of that language. So she constantly reminds me that, yes, Todd, don't try. So I don't, and I just appreciate and support
that spousal motivation you need in life.
I gotta love that support.
Yeah. Yes. So, but Gree is one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. The narrative, I'm like, this is just going to be some artsy fartsy game, and yes, it's very artsy and fartsy. It's beautiful. It has interesting mechanics, has a wonderful story. And I I'm like, I'll play a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'll keep playing. And it kept on going and going and going. And I'm like, wow, I did not expect myself to just fall in love with this game, but I did. And it's a 3-hour to 4-hour experience, depending how bad you are in games. I'm probably a 5-hour person on this because I'm like, there's certain things, but I mean, this game is a story narrative heavy game with some minor mechanics, traversal, things like that. But it also surprised me. It had some very almost BioShock Infinite moments where like you had that one, what was the evil bird in BioShock Infinite, had a moment like that, and that I did not expect in this game. So it had a little bit of I guess an antagonist that I was not expecting, and I just really love this game. So it's a shame it's already gone from Game Pass on Xbox PC or PC Game Pass, and it's not anywhere well. But I think right now it's on Switch as well, and it's on PC. Yes. But it's a wonderful game, and like I said, I'm not an indie guy by any means, but this game really just made me happy on a day off that I just beat it in 4 hours, and I felt really fulfilled.
That's great. Avery, what else have you been playing?
So I have also, despite being the one game person, I've actually been breaking that rule kind of heavily this week. On February 1st, the Employee of the Month edition of Journey to the Savage Planet from Stadia Games and Entertainment, RIP, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and Typhoon Studios came out on Stadia Pro. So if you were a subscriber, you got the Employee of the Month edition, which included the DLC and some other things, absolument free. And so I gave that. I've been getting into that one. It's super fun. It's got a great sense of humor, a very Idiocracy sense of humor to it, or floaty chair future from WALL-E, and I've really enjoyed it so far. I've only played, I think the little home screen thing says I'm about 20 to 25% of the way through, and but yeah, it's fun. It's something you can pick up, play, scan a few things, make it a few steps down the road, put it back away. It was relatively well received when it came out for other platforms prior to Stadia, and then of course Stadia bought them during a period of exclusivity. So despite the fact that Stadia owned this game for a year, you couldn't play it, and then February 1st it came out, and yeah, I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't know if it'll be a game that I finish. It might, but I've enjoyed it fairly well enough so far. We'll see how I feel about it after another. We'll see if I get 60% of the way through this one and start hating it, but so far it's fine.
Yeah, I played a little bit of that on Xbox Game Pass, and it kind of had a visual aesthetic of almost like Outer Worlds. And it's like, interesting. I'm like, okay, is this different? Totally different type of game, but it has one of those experiences very much family friendly versus Outer Worlds. So it does have that
saturated
yes,
and like brilliant landscapes, and like I'm having played enough of Assassin's Creed of it's just all gray. The whole thing is gray, start to finish. It's gray. To play a game with color was kind of nice.
It pleasured your eyes. In a way.
I don't know that I'd phrase it that way.
Oh, well,
Sure.
Why not? Sure, why not? Oh, well. Well, cool. Yeah, and it's kind of weird. Yeah, that, like you said, they bought the studio, they got the game, and yeah, we'll talk more about that as well.
Then
but
stuff happened.
Stuff happened. And stuff happened.
Dot.
Yes, ellipsis. Mark, Gears 5. Are you finally playing this game?
I'm finally playing, and I did play a little bit of this game, and so last night, the night before, something like that, I picked it up again just randomly. I was just kind of like, I don't know what I want to play. I didn't feel like jumping into Fortnite and playing, so I fired up Gears 5 and continued from where I left off. And where I left off was very early, because last night I played for about a half hour and then saw the title screen. So that's how early I was. But speaking of a visually just beautiful game, when you start off and it's kind of typical Gears kind of stuff, and then you go to this snowy tundra looking place, and that is absolutely like just beautiful. And there's it's, man, yeah, this is a showcase game for the Xbox. Even though it was a last generation game, they've made some great improvements for the series consoles. And I'm not going to talk too much more about Gears 5, but I wanted to just say, because we have been talking about it the last couple of episodes, and I wanted to say, yeah, I'm finally playing the story mode, and I'm working my way through. And just like any other Gears game, I stayed up way too late last night because I get super hooked, and I'm lucky today was a storm day, and I stayed home from work and did not do anything all day except like sleep in a bit, because I stayed up way too late playing Gears and working my way through that story. So I don't know exactly how far I am, but I want to continue. So hopefully by the next time we record, I'll have this one in the can, done, work through Hive Busters, and yeah, man, what a great game. Download it on Game Pass. It is awesome. And I think it's Games with Gold this month, isn't it?
It is, and I will tell you, I tried to play that with my buddy Sean Nias, who you met. Yeah. And when I tried to play it, guess what? Not everything was downloaded, even though I had put that in my library. I'm like, can we get this together, guys? If you tell me a game's there and I said install it, why isn't it all there? And Avery's just laughing because, like, ha, Stadia doesn't give you this issue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just so dumb.
Yeah, the whole 104 games we have, you don't have to download any of them.
No, Call of Duty, like I mentioned before, they split the campaign into 3 things you have to download. I'm like, why? I have a disc. And then you should tell me, like, yeah, it just can someone just have a plan and stick with it, folks? This is dumb. Smart people do this stuff. Avery, smart people that do programming and stuff. Why? Maybe it's evil corporations.
This keeps them in business.
Okay, evil corporations.
Guy that would have to program the automatic downloading, if he ever finishes that code, he's out of a job.
Yes. I get it now. Oh, well. Yeah. So, Mark, if you see me online anytime, pull me in. I'll play with you. If it's downloaded.
Yeah.
Or Sean.
Of course.
Yeah. So then I played a big game for Xbox. This is the first official Series S/X exclusive that you can't play on Xbox One, and that is the Medium. It's also on PC. This is by Bloober Team, which is just the weirdest name in the world. It sounds like somebody
for a horror studio.
It's a nickname for a fart.
So
I had a Bloober.
They're making games about small squishy creatures that you herd across landscapes. No.
Yeah. No. If I said there are 2 games coming out this year, there's the Medium, and that's a horror game, and then there's the Gunk, which has to do with goo stuff. And I said there's 2 teams making that, Image and Form and Bloober Team. Which game would you assign to which team?
Swap.
Right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But
I stepped in a Bloober. Yeah. It's so weird.
I
but
got
yeah,
the bloober on my shoe. Oh, gross. I got to scrape that off.
this is a weird team. They did the Blair Witch. That was their last game. They're into these narrative spooky games. This game was supposed to be a showpiece for Xbox because they haven't had a first party game yet that launched on Xbox Series S and X yet. So this is kind of the game that they've kind of hyped up. They backed it, but it is not. I don't think it's published by Xbox. But regardless, it's basically about a medium, this woman that is going exploring mysteries. Basically, she is in touch with the spirit world. My wife watches all these ghost paranormal shows, so I'm cleared into all of these mechanics, and you just, how you have to uncover it and find people their piece. And the game opens wonderfully because you're basically jumped into this character's life, strong character. Her father dies. This is at the very beginning, so it's no spoilers. And she basically she's brought to Belgium or this foreign country in Europe. They aren't specifically saying where it is. It could be Poland. I don't know. It's Europe in a place where people speak funny. And
I be Eastern European.
And Mark's like, Todd, you've offended a lot of people. And I'm like, I'm not trying to. I just don't know. They weren't so explicit in how they said where they were at. But basically, you're there. Her father is a mortician. He passed away. He's actually her foster father, but raised her. And she's there to basically take care of his affairs. He still has the funeral home. And, of course, he has to help. She has to help him pass, which is a wonderful experience. It's very beautiful. The big draw here with this game is basically you can split into two worlds. It's split screen. You've got you're in the real world on this side, and then on the right hand side you're in the spirit world, and you're doing things in tandem, and you're controlling both characters at the same time. So it looks a little bit weird. Controls a little weird. This is not a AAA game. This is a B tier game because you can tell because the way the character is animated, the way the character looks, the character models, the gameplay. This isn't reinventing adventure games at any level, but it is an adventure game. The way she moves, it's stiff. The character looks stiff. She doesn't have great animations in her face. When you run, it's like a slow staggered not a jog even. It's weird,
like the early Resident Evil kind of.
I was just gonna say, sounds like tank controls. Yeah,
it's not as bad as tank controls, but man, oh man, it's just one of those things. It's like, did they try to stretch out this game by making the traversal so slow? Because even when you can run, you're not running. It's like, Mark, it's like, when you are belabored to want to run, but you don't really want to run. It's that. Or you're trying, or let's say
it's like when someone's holding the door open for you, but you're a little too far away.
Exactly. It's like, oh yeah, I'm coming.
Like, oh, thanks for holding the door. I'm coming.
I'm crossing the street
because like you're in, I'm not running towards Walmart. Yeah, I get
it's exactly like that. So they got to call it the polite jaunt. Maybe is the new way. Yeah. So call it that. But yeah, I mean this struggles with adventure game mechanics where if you don't do the exact thing they want you to, you then will spend like a half hour like, what the hell was I supposed to do? Oh, crap, I'm going to the walkthrough online. And it's not a rewarding experience. And, yeah, I don't...
So, what... Is it just the split-screen worlds happening in tandem? What makes this a next-gen exclusive? Because everything you've said so far sounds like this thing could be running on, like, N64. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't feel like this is a next-gen game. It feels like... somebody mentioned actually Ryan Turford said it's a PS2 era game with a fresh coat of paint, which is not lavish applause for, like I said, when Xbox is like, this is the game that can only be run on these games. Yeah, it's the split screen. Maybe that's what it is. Or if it would go like down to 30 frames per second.
Right.
Yeah. So I just feel like this game is just, it's a fragrant fart, but not. And I don't see myself revisiting.
It's an aromatic bloober.
Exactly. But I don't think the story's strong enough or the performances are strong enough. And like I said, the animation and everything, it feels actually comparing like a Heavenly Sword, where you think about that's a small studio that did on an indie budget, and the way they made the people look and the basically the motion capture, that's a next gen game compared to this. This just feels like we got to put something out there, and they're going to do this mechanic that has to be on next gen, because the I think you get staggering on current gen, but it doesn't feel like a next gen experience. So it's a frustrating thing, but the good thing about Game Pass, it's free to play. But I don't think I'm going to continue on with the game. I'll watch a walkthrough on YouTube, quite honestly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Downer Todd. Yeah, but let's get some exciting. Yeah, Avery, so please excite us about Final Fantasy 14, because this is like one of the only other MMORPGs beyond like Elder Scrolls Online and World of Warcraft that people are actually playing.
Yeah, I believe it currently. It's always in one of the top 3 spots. So I played this game post Realm Reborn. So of course this has its historied first launch and complete failure, and so they literally blew up the world and in game to shut the servers down, and then relaunched it. So I played it between that and the first expansion that came out. And this was 2015. And I loved it. I enjoyed this game. I enjoyed every bit of it. And I played through the entire main story quest, and then I moved to take another job, and I just didn't have the spare time that I needed to really stick with an MMORPG. And so I stopped playing it. And so meanwhile, there is Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and they just announced a brand new one, which we'll talk about. And so there have been 3 major expansions that have all added dozens of hours to this game. So I thought, you know what? They just announced the new one. I loved this game the first time I played it. I now have a computer that will actually play it in greater than 212p, and so I can actually enjoy this game as Yoshi P would want me to enjoy it. And so I downloaded it again over the weekend. I downloaded it, which was obnoxious. I've only played Stadia games.
How dare they make you download anything?
Right.
Welcome back to the world of peasants.
So an hour later I have pretty good internet. I pay for a gig and I get most of it. So an hour later I had the game and got back in, and I started a brand new account. I don't know if I couldn't find the old one or whatever else. So I started back from level 1 and just walking through the gates of Ul'dah and just back to and I'm just like, I loved this game before, and I know I'm going to love it again. And I'm just feeling it like it's going to be, I'm ready for it. I'm not even going to skip anything. I'm going to play straight through the main story quest again, because otherwise I'd have to watch some YouTube explainer and then just go expansion to expansion to expansion and play the whole thing, and I'm ready for it. My body is ready.
Well, it's going to be awesome experience to go back to a game where it's like they've updated, they've taken a lot of the pain from you. So I like that. Kind of basically it's like, hey, it's the best it's ever going to be.
Yeah, I don't even know what I can't remember much of what the game was like back then, but I know there are some mechanics that I've not seen before, and I'm only a level 12. I've only been playing it for all of 4 hours, and so I'm like, they've made changes here. They've simplified things. It is a much faster experience to get up to those first 50 levels, which I knew, that always happens. Anytime anybody expands a game, they always make the intro shorter. And so I'm like, oh, cool. You know what? If I were to find and reactivate my old level 50 character, I wouldn't know how to play him anymore. He was a summoner. So there's pet mechanics and all this. I wouldn't have a clue anymore. So just start fresh. Great. So I'm starting fresh as a black mage and just enjoying this game and going through it.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like revisiting an ex-girlfriend that you're allowed to.
Are you? How many restraining orders do you currently have against you, Tom?
Just Facebook.
Or are you not legally allowed to talk about?
Just Facebook stalking. That's about it. No, that's about it.
Got it. That's so much healthier. Yes.
Exactly. And they can't tell.
You didn't know this was a confession couch too.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just co-op. Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's why it's sticky.
Exactly. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Oh well, Mark, you played Tetris Effect Connect.
I did.
I did too.
Awesome. Yeah. This was one that my wife and I were sitting on the couch, and our couch, not the co-op couch, and we were just kind of she was actually playing Animal Crossing on her Switch, and I fired up the Xbox again, not really knowing what to play, and saw that in Game Pass and said, you know what, she's going to love this because she loves Tetris. And it didn't take long to download, and I just fired it up. I just handed her a controller, and she was like, what's this? And I said, you'll see. And jumped into a multiplayer game, and she kicked my ass handedly, like just easily, just here you go, like here's your ass. And she handed it right to me. We had a fun time with it though. And this game is so freaking beautiful. Holy crap. There's like particle effects and just HDR 4K. Just this is, you think Tetris and you're like, how is that optimized for a series console? And boy, they did it. And the first time ever, my wife has on her own fired up my Xbox. And I think that like includes any Xbox, not just the series. Like I'm talking Xbox One, Xbox One X series. Like the first and only time I've seen her was today when like I'm over playing with the baby and I hear the and I'm like, the hell? Like, and she jumps into Tetris Effect. And I was like, okay, I found something. Now we're gonna have to get a Series S or something because I'm never getting my damn Xbox back. But yeah, anyway, she loves it. I love it. Very early on, I haven't played other than the multiplayer stuff. Haven't really played anything, and I want to just kind of go through that. Like I forget what they call the story mode or whatever it is, but I really need to get up because she got 2 achievements a pop. Like real early on. I was just like, okay, I'm real close to 10,000 achievement points. Also, I forgot to mention this on the show 2 weeks ago. I recovered the password for my old Xbox account.
Nice. Bonus games,
not very many because it was my 360 account. So a lot of that back then was still physical stuff, but a couple of like Xbox Live Arcade games and some fun little things there. But I like back in like, back then I had like over 10,000 gamer score, and now I'm just hitting another 10,000. So I'm like, damn it, combined. Like I know 20,000 is not super impressive when you got people like Ryan Turfer that are like 400,000 or something stupid, crazy, insane. Like, you know, I don't even know how he has the time to do that. Ryan, I love you. Yeah, I just like, I wish there was a way to combine them or something. But anyway, I have them there, and yeah, so it's kind of neat. But yeah, Tetris Effect, I want to play more, which is crazy because it's Tetris and how they make it look that good. It's weird.
It's a beautiful game. I played it. I'm not good at Tetris, but I enjoyed the experience, the music, the graphics. There's a whale in the game.
Yeah.
I saw the whale. The whale's beautiful. I'm horrible at the game. It causes me too much stress.
And that's like,
yeah. I'm too stressed in that game, and you're not supposed to be stressed in that game. So it's not for me, but it's beautiful.
Was one, it was pretty early on, and I was watching her play it, and I was like, I kind of want to be like, there's kids that listen. Kids, plug your ears. I kind of want to be like a little high playing this game, like
that would help.
But at the same time, like I think like if you were like, I think it could go bad too. But like there's some trippy looking stuff, like crazy effects, which I guess is why they call it Tetris Effect. But man, yeah, what a pretty game.
It's really fun. Check it out. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's wonderful on PC as well. It's beautiful. It showed up on PS4 just as Tetris Effect. Connected was exclusive to Xbox, so it's awesome. If you like Tetris, check it out. It's well worth it. Something that's not well worth it, but it's a curiosity that you have to do. It's like that bad experience, that B movie that you don't know how it exists, and that's Balan Wonderland. I played the demo. It's out everywhere, I think, right now. It's horrible. This is by Yuji Naka. This is the guy that created Sonic. And oh my God, this game is horrible. It's just, other people have talked about this, and I totally agree.
I've heard so many people say this, and it hurts my heart because when I first saw the trailers of this, I was like, this game looks incredible, and I hope it comes to Stadia. And
same thing.
I'm like, I've seen so many people talk about this demo and talk about how it's just not good.
Todd, I think you like screwed over the world on this one because a couple of episodes ago.
Oh, it's your fault.
It is
my fault.
It's your well. Yeah. I mean, both of us really. We were talking about how we've been so lucky getting some really great codes to review, and I think this was again back at our game of the year thing. We talked about how many great games and like some developers gave us some great codes for some amazing games.
Oh no, Mark, are we getting codes?
No, we didn't get codes for this. But
I would feel horrible.
No, but I mean, you didn't pay for this, so I'm technically counting that as something that you played for this show to see how it was, and it's a steaming pile of turds. And that's what you said. Like, we both kind of said it like, oh man, like it'd be kind of fun to like rip on something for a bit. So yes, this wasn't a review code or anything, but like rip on it for a bit. This is your time to shine.
Oh, talk about a game where there's one action button. That's all the action buttons. And you get these suits that are basically controlling yourself. So this is like Billy Hatcher meets the worst, like, what is it? What was a really bad, I think what was the really crappy, like 2D platformer in the PS1 era? Was it Bubsy? So this is like Bubsy if they brought Bubsy back.
Bubsy?
Yes.
That is a SNES classic.
I was just going to say, that's SNES, not PS1. Like, that's, I don't know,
okay.
maybe
there was a Bubsy 3D. No, there was a Bubsy 3D, Mark. It was horrible. And it's like,
I'm
this is just continuing
about smack about Bubsy. That's it. We're throwing down.
Next thing you know, he's going to have a problem with Claymates, and we're going to have.
Oh no, I love Play Fighter N64. What is it, 66 and a third or whatever? I don't know. Yeah, but this game is. I don't know what its focus is. You are wearing suits for your power-ups, and they give you different abilities, but they don't give you all of the abilities you think you would have in a platformer. You can't jump in some of these suits. You have one ability, like one is just getting tall. Like you can get tall. That's your ability, getting tall. Am I being sarcastic enough? Why is that an ability, getting tall? So it's just a hot mess. There's all these like NPCs. You don't know if they're enemies at first, and they're just sitting there dancing. And you go over to them, and they disappear. But when you get a little away from them, they come back. And it makes no sense. And there's this one part where you get these trophies, and then you meet this guy named Balin. It's his Wonderland, apparently. And it kicks off a quick time event that makes no sense with Balin, where if you line up his like shadow images, he does something. And then it ends. And you get something, but you don't know why you get the thing. And then it ends, and at the end, this game might have the best/worst like cutscenes in the world, where it's like a dance party with all of these people you met. It's very weird. It makes no sense. Yeah. But play the demo, please.
Definitely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it has so far not been announced for Stadia, and I am reserving my downloading and PC space right now, because I know that if I have Steam, I could do GeForce Now if I really wanted to stream things, but I could also just play them on Steam because I have a competent computer, and I know that I would download many things and buy many things if I didn't stop myself. So I've yet to, like, there's a part of my brain that's saying, no, you're a Stadia gamer. You don't buy PC games. And therefore I don't buy PC games, even though I have a very competent PC that I could put. I have a very, very competent PC that I'm basically just doing Zoom chats on all day. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you. So I am not downloading the demo. I'm avoiding it.
Yeah, I will skip this game, but I have to say that watching you, like, you've posted a couple of things about it, and I've seen so many people post things about this, that I discovered something that I didn't know was weird about myself, and I didn't. So certain words for me will have. It's hard to describe. I don't even know how to. This is how.
Do you have a confession, Mark? You're really struggling
here. No, this is how new this is.
Okay.
So certain words will make me feel uncomfortable, but it's not like it's an uncomfortable word or something. It's just like they like make my brain itch or something, and it like. So Balin or
like
Balin
people get
when
they say moist.
Yes,
like that thing.
Kind of, but it has more of like a I don't know. There's more of like a feeling and a like a shape or something to it. Like anyway, so synesthesia or something like that. Synesthesia. Okay, yeah. I didn't even know how to pronounce it. This is how new. I never heard of this before, and my wife was like, I think you kind of like have this, because I was like going off on this word like Balin Wonderland or whatever. And I was just like, that word just makes me feel icky. And I was trying to describe like what the word is shaped like when it's in my mind. And she was just like, that is not a normal thing. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, like words don't have like shapes and colors and stuff to you? And she was like, just what?
Oh yeah, I've heard that, but yeah, I've never experienced it.
That's entirely. So that's a synesthetic reaction. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Do you now do similarly spelled words? So like baleen, like the baleen whale. Does baleen have that same effect for you?
Not quite as hard as Balin. I don't know why that one sets me off, but there are a few that I've experienced that I just like. I don't like even looking at the words because they're weird. But yeah, so that's apparently a thing that my brain does that I never knew was weird. Like I just like, it's just been that way. So but anyway, yet seeing so many people talking about this game, I'm just like, I was uncomfortable on Twitter for a couple of days. Just
I didn't know that, Mark. I apologize for making you feel weird.
Hey, it's not your fault. Hey. It's I never knew I was like.
I won't talk about that game ever again because it doesn't need to be.
Anyway, that's so. The weirdness of Mark's brain. I didn't know that was not normal.
No, it's not. It's not abnormal. Yeah. It's just interesting. Well, yeah.
You have a different set of processing going on than other people process.
It makes you good. Perfect. It makes you, Mark, and we love that.
That's, I guess, yeah. That's anyway. I never knew that was different. I'll say that instead of weird. Yeah. So that's, I guess, because that. Yeah. But anyway, there we go.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna erase that crappy thing with something awesome that is out. I played the Steam. Steam has a festival of demos right now. And I remember seeing this game. They showed a trailer for it during an Xbox event. I'm like, this game looks phenomenal. I love the art style, and it's making me so happy. And the game is called Echo Generation. I dropped a little trailer in the chat window, gentlemen. You can watch it while I'm explaining this, just because I think it's
horrifying that what it dropped into the chat was a Bing link.
Okay, sorry. I get Bing rewards, Avery. Bing rewards. It's like free Amazon money.
I was hoping that this was just Skype being Skype because it's a Microsoft product, and it's like, no, we're doing a Bing link, you mother. No, that was a choice. Okay, great, thanks.
It got me like 5 points on towards my Amazon $5 gift card. Thank you, Amazon and Bing. But regardless, I corrected my
this
issue.
Is the points that start off Megadads.
Exactly. It's a new podcast.
Made up and the points don't matter.
It's the Bing podcast is coming up next, so just hold on to your horses. But I did put a real trailer in for this game at the bottom from YouTube. It's called Echo Generation, so you can watch that while I'm explaining it, because this game is awesome. I played the demo. This is essentially like Stranger Things crossed over with a crazy 8-bit, but a crunchy 8-bit experience where your pixels almost feel like they're substantial. Almost like do you remember the 8-bit
Taurus.
Zelda amiibo?
Yeah.
Kind of like that style.
It's got a little bit of the 2D, 3D, like Octopath Traveler look to it, but
Chunky.
A little bit more on the 3. It's weird that it is simultaneously more 3-dimensional than Octopath, but less bit than Octopath.
Yeah, it's 3D Dot Game Hero. If you ever played that game, where it was basically like that style in a Zelda format, where you could change all of your 8-bit characters, you could change them by changing the bits. But this game is fantastic. It's a 3D 8-bit retro style turn-based game where this feels like the style of it feels like the South Park JRPG games. The South Park Stick of Truth. It's that type of game, sense of humor. You take on trash pandas, a.k.a. raccoons.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic, and you team up with your little sister. It's awesome. This game, I'm so excited for this game after playing the demo. I love this. I hope they don't pad it with like all of the different level grinding that you need to get in JRPG games. Mm-hmm. But I'm so excited about this game. I think it's coming to Game Pass. I don't know that as a fact. Maybe if I will it will happen. But I can't wait for this to happen. But it's on Steam. Yeah, it'll probably come to other platforms too.
Looks a little Earthboundy also, maybe.
Oh yeah, so. Absolutely. It's about it's American 80s concept. You have a tape deck player that you find tapes. You can play comic books. It's just loving that era.
It's like Stranger Things mixed with The Tourist.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You nailed it, Mark. So check that out. It's there as a Steam demo. It will be out on those platforms later. So that's where we end what we've been playing, gents. So now it's time to get into the news of the day. We have 3 news stories. We're going to talk about that. Avery, you've got a story for us in the world of news. It seems like this is reminiscent of something you mentioned earlier.
Yes, Final Fantasy XIV has announced their 4th expansion, and they're going to the moon. Endwalker. I watched a goodly portion of the expansion announcement event, which is always fun to do because when they do these live expansion announcements or any kind of live letters or whatever else, there's always Yoshi P, aka Naoki Yoshida, the director of Final Fantasy XIV, and then an English translator. And it's usually the same guy. So what you're doing then is watching him go off in Japanese for about a minute, and then the English translator says, and then it's him, and it's the English translator, and it's him. So what could really be about a 30-minute presentation ends up taking an hour and a half because there's him plus there's Yoshi P, then there's the English translation, and then there's like Yoshi P going, "Hi, I got this myself," and then the English guy going, "Yes, exactly," and then so what should just be like 30 minutes, get through the details, zoom straight through, and you're done. And then they kind of sort of talk to each other, but then when they're talking to each other, the English guy is only translating the English part of his or the Japanese. It's weird. So anyways, it's how that today. Yoshi P announced the new trailer or the new one, which is called Endwalker, which is supposed to be the end of the story that started with A Realm Reborn. So after the relaunch of Final Fantasy 14 10 years ago, this is now going to wrap up the story that started there with the light and the dark fighting against each other as is standard in all Final Fantasy games. And so along with it, you get a new class, a sage, which is a healer with these weird like laser sword things that are supposed to heal you, and I guess they just cauterize the wounds instantly. You're not really sure about all that. And some new story changes they're adding. Basically, you get your own Harvest Moon Island, which is kind of weird. And there's another level cap raise, and they're releasing more housing, and more lands, and then you're also going to the moon in this. So fun. I don't know if that means airships will be a new big part of it or whatever else, but yeah, it was kind of cool to watch and just to see kind of this 10-year arc coming to a close. And of course they made it a point to say we're still going. In fact, the very next patch, this is 5.5 kicks off, and then you get to 6.0, and when 6.1, which is the very next patch, that's going to start a brand new story. So it's nothing's going away. Yoshi P's not going away. No. It's just we're still going. So it looks like it's going to be pretty fun.
I love the fact that like awesome. It's like this is like patch version 6.1.25. And it's like, wouldn't it be like a 7? I mean, like that's like a huge deal. Make it 7.
Yeah, if you're starting the brand newest of the new thing, just go ahead and increment. You're going to be fine. I mean, I get what they're doing. They only do that when they release a new sure. Like A Realm Reborn was 2.0, and then 3, 4, 5, and now this is 6. But I get it. But come on, like you will convince everyone that it's a brand new story if you start with a brand new number. But then again, like who cares about the numbers?
They must have to pay for like the numbers. It's like, oh, that costs $1 billion.
Well,
you'd think the moon would justify another number.
Right. Well, as we know from the end of the presentation, they're having trouble with numbers. The other thing that they talked about was that their math is getting so huge, which is the thing that happens. I'm in software programming. I'm not a programmer, but I'm a product guy. And at a certain point, if your numbers are getting too big, they start rolling over on themselves and they flip back to 0 and it freaks everything out.
Thank God you weren't alive during Y2K, or you were old enough to do that. Well, you were alive, but were you programming?
I was totally alive.
Were you programming in Y2K?
I was not. I was sitting in a church praying for the rapture not to happen. That's what I was. I am not kidding. Highland Park Baptist Church, Lenore City, Tennessee. So,
well, thank you for your prayers.
It worked.
Yeah, so I did it, you guys. And so they basically said, once you get into like level 70, 80, 90, which is where they're going, the numbers are way too big. And so they're just going to start cutting them all by a factor of 80% in some cases. And then in doing so, they're all that, compound interest. That means the numbers, if they cut you all that way down at 50, then by the time you get to 90 or however many thousands of percent, you're not there anymore. So yeah, that's the thing. The numbers they've been having issues with numbers apparently, and this is the way they're going to fix it, is by not giving us more numbers.
Man, numbers.
Less numbers.
That works.
Thank goodness my son's an engineer and will solve this issue. They'll fix the numbers.
I think that's wrong with that's what's wrong with the law system in America and North America, really, is I think if you could just, when people are being bad, you don't throw them in prison, just take away their numbers.
Ooh.
And Sesame Street they were onto something, like just.
You were 35 years old. Now you're 3.5 years old.
Yeah.
So sorry.
You just. I am sorry.
Okay.
But
you heard the sorry. You heard the sorry there. That means it's serious.
Yeah, that's it. That's what they should say.
I'm just waiting for. Yeah. That's so funny the way you said that. I was waiting for. You heard the sorry there, and that means it's time for the Canadian bonus round.
Here we go. Everybody gets Timbits. All right.
Exactly, and then I was going to ask what's Jean Valjean's number? 24601.
Wait, no, sorry.
There we go.
24601. Sorry. Oh well, we can all sing together. It'll be the musical episode of Co-op Mode.
Yeah.
Oh well, that is awesome. I'm so excited. And it's also on PS5 and PC. Is that the only platforms? It's not on Xbox yet?
Yes. It is officially coming to PS5 with the 5.5 patch, which is launching in April. And it will be a free upgrade for existing license holders. No extra cost to move to PS5. You will end up getting 4K when you do that, which is not currently offered on, obviously. And there will be a 4K mode. There will also be a performance mode for high frame FPS as well. And PS4. So far, they have not put it on any other platform. So it is not. It has never been released on Xbox. We desperately would love to have it on Stadia. Not happening so far. We have a couple of MMOs, but we don't have that one. And of course, our poor friends on the Switch never get anything fun. And so right now we're waiting. We're hoping they've got their next fan festival coming up in May, I believe. And who knows? They're going to announce one more job class. They might announce another. It'd be real fun. I'm betting Square Enix and Sony have been cozy, so I'm betting there are some contracts with extra zeros on them that are preventing that from happening.
Those numbers count.
Oh yeah, they got the numbers.
Do get bigger.
Yes. So Mark, something that nobody can figure out how to make money off of is your story.
Man, yeah. So this was kind of a shocker. GoldenEye 007's Xbox remaster kind of leaked out this week, leaked onto the internet. There's the walkthroughs and different video from this. Like, this was a real thing, and so many people, myself included, wanted this to be real. And finding out that it was not only real, but like ready to go, and then got squashed by someone high up in Nintendo that, like, oh God, that's frustrating. And the way they put it, so Ross Berry was a artist and Mark Edmonds was a programmer, and they were explaining that the team basically went and had the full go ahead to do this. They got permission from Nintendo, but they didn't talk to whoever, some unnamed executive at Nintendo whose opinion was the one they needed. And that person basically just at the last minute just like squashed it, just shut it down, like just, it was practically finished at this point. And this guy stepped in and like somehow got word of it even after other people in Nintendo had approved it, and the word, or it was something along the lines of, there is no way a Nintendo game is coming out on a Microsoft console. Shut it down. And it was like, damn.
And that man was Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah, they didn't say.
Was
luckily,
Abraham Lincoln.
That's right.
It. Yeah. Damn it, Obama. I just wanted to try to make Todd spit out his beer.
Almost.
I know this is an audio podcast, but that would have been great. Anyway, so like, I don't know if there's a chance of this ever coming back. Like, now that Nintendo and Microsoft kind of, are a little bit more buddy. Would this work? Could this work? I don't know, but like there are talks, maybe reskinning it to something else, like changing everything about the game. But then would it still be GoldenEye? Would we still know? It's
be
weird.
Vikings at that point.
It could just Vikings,
Assassin's Blades, and like
yeah. But anyway, yeah. So this game was and is real. It is pretty much finished and just got shut down, which is wildly depressing for someone like me who grew up, playing this. This was between this and like Mario Kart, like this is where we cut our teeth on multiplayer experiences. And to think that we could be, if Sean Capri always has Halo Saturdays, like this could be GoldenEye Sundays, right? Like this could be a thing, and it's not, and that just guts me. How do you guys feel about this? Are you as angry, or are you just like, yeah, it was a fun thing, and now it's gone?
We will probably talk about this in just a moment. I have a hard time mourning the loss of a thing that I never had. I've always been a person that doesn't tend to do that. So I think I played plenty of GoldenEye back in the day. Would it have been cool to have more further nifty things in the GoldenEye cinematic universe? Probably. We're gonna get a top tier Bond game out of IOI, here in the next little bit. So, I think it was IOI.
IO. Yep.
IO Interactive. Yeah. So maybe that will be the GoldenEye the next GoldenEye game we never had.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I have the GoldenEye Reloaded on 360. I don't know if it has anything to do with that because I have a 360. I want to have that. I played a little bit of GoldenEye multiplayer with my buddy Steve, who's one of my best friends in college. He owned the N64. I think he still owns it, and we played some of that multiplayer. That was a lot of fun. The game wasn't great though because you're controlling analog with buttons on the N64 controller, which was like the worst idea in the world, but it worked for the time. So
for the time it was great.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I really hope there is a way to bring this back and maybe call it Golden Guy and just riff it so badly and just make it dumb, but
turn the whole thing into a joke.
Exactly, make it a joke like No One Lives Forever. Which, if you're old enough like me, you remember that was like the spoof Bond game back in the day by EA, which nobody has the rights to. But yeah, it's a shame this isn't out there. And I'll be honest, I have tracked the dark webs. I've not been able to find this thing. I've looked everywhere, and I've not been able to find it. So I'm glad that people are showing how this is, but I'd love to try it out, but I haven't been able to find it. So if anybody knows, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Hint, hint, don't tell me.
Definitely don't. Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Todd, what's your story?
Oh, yeah. This is kind of interesting because we've been wondering what's going to happen to conventions and everything. I love conventions. I love going to them. I've never been to a video game convention. In Minneapolis, there is a video game convention that's all about video game music, which is just kind of cool. Adam Leonard, who is part of the Megadads, is a person that goes to all these conventions locally, which is cool too. But that doesn't exist anymore. But we're hearing about E3 returning digitally. The ESA, who runs E3, kind of fell on their butt last year, and they didn't have an option to do anything in regards to gaming conferences. So because of that, the summer of Jeff Keighley happened, which, if you guys don't remember that's basically Jeff Keighley trying to get all these events to happen online. It was received mixedly, if that's a word, mixedly.
It is now.
Yes. So essentially now ESA is saying it's coming back. E3 is coming back June 14th. This is going to happen. We're going to have all these video conferences. They're going to happen. But unfortunately, no one has actually said they're going to actually do this. So the ESA is saying we're doing it, but nobody has actually said we are going to show up and do this thing with them. So there is a platform. We just don't know if anybody will actually arrive on said platform. So this is kind of crazy because I think people like the fact that we got video game information last summer. It was just unwieldy, happened erratically, and no one could actually pay attention to it. And they're like, let's just get everything all at once. We want the Xbox conference. We want the Nintendo conference. We want the Sony conference. We want the PC conference, Ubisoft, whoever. Didn't happen. So that is something they're saying is going to happen, but we don't know if it's really going to happen. And I keep saying happen because it relies on everybody kind of coming together saying, yep, we'll show up and do something. Thanks, ESA. But I don't think the ESA really matters anymore. Oh, well, but then Jeff Keighley is also saying he's going to bring back the Summer Game Fest, and he has a lot of contacts, and he has a lot of goodwill. So in this instance, I'm feeling like he's going to have more luck than the ESA will with bringing back content and actual publishers and people wanting to spread their content. So what do you guys think? Can ESA?
Somebody tweeted about E3 saying, no thanks, we'd rather not pay the six-figure sum to have to be there. We'll just host our own event. I'm sitting there going, no, you can't charge somebody six figures to put their own show on. The only thing of which you're going to do is throw a link on your Twitter account and on your webpage. Like you can't do that. There is nothing you can offer them for that six figures that will recoup that investment for them. Like unless you're saying, and everybody that signs up gets a 30-minute Zoom session with Reggie, then it's Reggie over here and Doug Bowser over here, past and present. Then no, there's nothing that will make that worth it. So either that person was kind of talking out their rear, or ESA has made some real bad choices right out of the gate, trying to recoup whatever losses they faced from last year, and it's not gonna do better.
Yeah, they burned a lot of the ESA burned a lot of people. They lost like a lot of the people who attended their events. Their information went public and that got compromised. There was like an Excel spreadsheet that they linked to, and people could harass all these people that attended it, and that's just a bad showing. And what is the ESA actually? Can they offer these companies if there's no physical space that they control anymore?
Yeah, it's tough. I think there is a need for something E3 like. And I think, Jeff Keighley did a good job, not a great job, but a good job of getting stuff a little hyped last year. But it was so spread out and it was so all over the place. And some things were big and some things were small, and you never knew which to expect at any given time. And it was just kind of a mess. And I think there's something to be said for a condensed week where everyone's trying to just go the biggest they can and kind of compete for the center of attention and that whatever 10-minute of news cycle before the next giant thing comes out. And I think there's something that we missed last summer that something that's so spread out just can't capture that same lightning in a bottle excitement kind of thing. But can they do the exact same as 10 years ago E3 or 2 years ago E3? Definitely not. No, I think you need to change and adapt. And I think some mix of old E3 and some mix of summer in games or summer of games, you have to find some middle ground between the two. And because I don't think either one really works in 2021.
Yeah, it's a really unique problem we have, because we could be in a different place by June or we couldn't. So depending on the world is, vaccinations, things like that, public events are probably not going to be back in full thrust by that point. So it will be curious to see what we can do. But if we could get somebody, Jeff, could he resurrect Reggie to come with him and lead the masses onto, coming together with Sony and Nintendo and those things? I don't know if we're past that already, though. I just don't think that I don't know if there's one ascending force that can bring those bodies together, because I think they're kind of only focused on their own goodwill and their own platform. And I don't know if that's going to happen ever again.
We've crossed into a time when you don't need the stage at E3. When Nintendo goes live with a Nintendo Direct, all eyes are on Nintendo and other, these other organizations. When Sony announces a state of play, or when Xbox announces a Xbox Direct Showcase, or whatever it is they call it, I can't think of it. Other people just simply move out of their way. Because you are not going to interrupt them. You are not going to get any waves when they are doing their event. So, it used to be you had to have a keynote at E3 to announce the biggest things of the year, because that is when all eyes are on you. And with YouTube Live, with premieres on Twitch and whatever else, you just don't need it. We're not far off from the day. I would almost bet you the next time the Epic Game Store is going to do some monumental release or announce some brand new IP, they'll do it as a live event inside Fortnite. Because they can. Because that's the new E3 for them, and they don't need a stage anywhere else.
No, Avery, and you've just blew Mark's load, because Mark is the biggest Fortnite fan in the world, and you just made them the happiest man in the world by saying
no. I mean, I've said that before, right? Like last summer proved that people will do a lot of stuff in Fortnite, whether it's watching movies, watching concerts, watching essentially a concert over Zoom, or something as big as the Marshmallow concert, which is all done in game. Star Wars announcements. Charlie and I do a Star Wars canon podcast, and the only canon reference to what happened at the start of Rise of Skywalker happened in Fortnite, which means in some weird way Fortnite is canonical with Star Wars. That's weird. So yes, Fortnite is a platform within itself that people can use to do. I mean, you could have a full E3 in Fortnite, and you get Microsoft, Sony, whoever. But I mean, Epic Games is gonna, should use that as their platform, let alone other game developers and whoever else. But they'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where the feedback will be. And, they've got to announce new games that are coming. And nobody's really been picking up the slack this year so far, because we're past the Game Awards and we're into February now. And nobody has really said, hey, we're going to say something in February or March or April at this point. So I guess until Nintendo drops a tweet and says this is their next game, that's about all we're going to get.
Seems to be.
Yeah. Oh, well, that is it for the news. We're moving on to the bonus round, gentlemen. We're talking about future of streaming services. The services we're going to talk about today are Stadia, Luna, Xbox Streaming, xCloud, as they called it before, PS Now, and GeForce Now / Shadow Gaming, which essentially is the streaming on your PC. So we kicked off 2021 in a interesting place. In Avery, because Stadia is like your primary platform, I listen to your podcast. I like it because it's telling me more about Stadia that I don't know, informing me and kind of getting me on the loop on where Stadia is headed. And you were so excited about 2021. And then last week, Stadia announces essentially they're not going to be in the game development service, but they're still going to keep their platform for PC, for basically streaming games on PC and mobile devices and browsers. It's going to still happen, which is interesting because that then says, okay, where are we headed? Because we've got Luna, Xbox Streaming, and all these other places. And it's like, what is the unique piece of each of these platforms and where are they going? So we'll start off with Stadia. So that's your platform. So where is Stadia headed now that they're not going to be making games?
Yeah, so this obviously has been the topic of the past week for those of us in the Stadia community, and in the cloud gaming community in particular. And here's how I liken the decision that they made. When Stadia started out, when they got on that stage at GDC in 2019, they said, we are going to create the best deli in town. It's going to be the best deli. We're going to have the most amazing sandwiches. We're going to have the best delivery. You're going to love this deli. And we are working on creating recipes for our own bread, which is going to be amazing. You've never had bread like this before. In the meantime, we're getting the highest quality ingredients from the best people we can, including amazing bakers, fantastic cheesemakers, fantastic meats. We're going to, with the goal of providing you all these things wrapped up in an amazing sandwich experience. And this week they said, you know what? We tried to bake our own bread. We tried these recipes, and it's just not landing where we want. So we're not going to be bread bakers anymore. We're still going to get amazing ingredients and high quality bread and fantastic meats and cheeses, and still bring you the best sandwiches and the best delivery that you've ever had. We're just not going to make our own bread. We're going to instead of buying more bread supplies and buying more ovens, we're going to reinvest that into the store and the delivery vehicles, all that kind of stuff. That's what happened this week. What everybody heard. I literally put that on. So for those of you listeners who are not familiar, on February 1st, about 3:00 in the afternoon, Phil Harrison, the VP that's in charge of Stadia, the general manager of Stadia, published a release on blog.google, which is Google's official corporate blog. This is where Sundar Pichai puts news about legal fights that they're having. This is the big blog. And he published 390 words on the future of Stadia. And roughly 200 words into that post, a little more than halfway through, he says, and we've decided to redirect our efforts. We're no longer going to be making first-party games. It's getting exponentially more expensive to do so. As a part of that, Jade Raymond of Ubisoft, prior to Stadia Games and Entertainment, she's decided to move on to other opportunities because, hey, we don't need a game studio director if we don't have a game studio. And we wish her the best. There's about 150 people that are employed by Stadia Games and Entertainment. We're going to try to reallocate them or release them from their contracts. And that's all he said. He said, but prior to that, the first 200 words of that were, we are redirecting all of our efforts at this platform. We're going to make this the best platform to deliver cloud gaming. We're going to continue with our partnerships. We're going to invest money in those partnerships. We're going to invest money in the technology, in the streaming, and make it the best streaming experience for anybody. What everybody heard was, oh my God, Stadia's closing down.
Stadia's canceled. Yeah.
Stadia's done. It's the death knell. Ring the bells, ye heathens. Like, that's what everybody heard. And so I had people at my job. Everybody knows I'm a Stadia guy. I had people saying, hey, did I hear something about Stadia closing down? And I say, no, Stadia Games Entertainment is closing down. They're just not making their own games anymore, because making your own games is hard, and they've never done it before. The challenge and the reason why it's disappointing but makes sense is, let's take a look at Cyberpunk 2077, biggest game of 2020, arguably speaking, in many people's books, the most anticipated game certainly in 2020. All reports indicate this. We all know this game took 8 years to come to market from a studio with a 26-year history of making games that has made one of the best-selling franchises in The Witcher, one of the best-received franchises of all time, and purportedly it cost them $313 million to produce a game that, quite frankly, kind of squipped when it landed, because if you didn't have a high-end PC or a 5 or a Series or Stadia, you really couldn't play this game. So millions of people that bought it just could not enjoy this game. If a studio with that much power underneath it, that much history, and that much institutional knowledge, and that many developers who had been making games for 26 years couldn't get the hang of this, I don't know how anybody would have expected Stadia to really succeed at first effort out of the gate. Honestly, it's something that I said earlier. It's hard for me to mourn the loss of a thing I never had. And so we didn't even see a single screenshot off of this game. We didn't see a single screen cap, not a teaser trailer, not nothing. We don't know what they were producing in-house. So there was nothing for us to lose here. So all that happened is Stadia said, you know what? Those millions of dollars we've been pouring into that, we're going to pour it into contracts. We're going to get us bigger games. We're going to get us the next Resident Evils and the Call of Duties and the Fortnites and all those other things. And that's what they did. So the future of Stadia, to the clickbait YouTubers and the disingenuous clickbait article writers, is this is the end. How could a platform possibly survive without exclusives? And it doesn't matter that or without first party exclusives. And it doesn't matter that Android is doing just fine without first party exclusives and iOS is doing just fine without first party exclusives. Doesn't matter. Stadia's dying. Stadia's dead. To me, the future of Stadia is a platform that is the best place to stream video games for most people in 30 countries around the world. That's the future of Stadia. That's where I stay excited. But I'm happy to kind of we certainly want to talk through the other platforms and talk about why they're different. So I think the future Stadia is great. I would say that as the guy drinking, you can't see me, as the guy drinking from a Stadia branded tumbler, which they sent me for being a content creator in the Stadia community. Of course, I think Stadia is going to do fine.
No, and that's the interesting part, because I was always curious about Stadia. I've played the original beta where you played Assassin's Creed Odyssey on that. I can't remember what they called it at that point. Google something.
It was Project Stream. Yep.
There you go. I played it there. I got the game for free. So I played the IFR demo on that as well. I had a mixed experience because my internet is good, but sometimes has issues. So it was one of those things that was a great way to show me how to play, but it wasn't always perfect. So, and Stadia struggled, I would say, in regards to at least their messaging and marketing, because I remember that really weird ad they had with Reggie
Watts.
Yes. And it's like, unless you're in the know, it was just totally confusing.
We hated that ad.
Yeah.
Because it was like, Stadia teraflops, yay! And it didn't. We hated that ad, and they changed in the spring. They completely overturned their marketing strategy, start to finish, and it came out with amazing, fantastic ads. Toward the summer and the fall, some of the ads they were coming out with were incredible. We were very glad to see the end of teraflops. We were glad to see that go.
It was too hip for its own good, but I mean, ultimately, Stadia's and what they did not nail, and I think they need to really deliver upon, is Stadia's a place if you are interested in gaming, but you don't care about owning a piece of hardware, and that's really what it comes down to. The problem was, it was really difficult to find a place to play. You needed a PC and a browser with Google Chrome. But then the Google, the Google Chrome device was iffy if it would actually support it. Sometimes it didn't to get it on your TV. So it was almost like Google, in a way, they had their device to play it on, but it's like they released their new one, and it's like, oh, Stadia's now supported. I'm like, it's like a company that doesn't know where they're at. It's like, So I'm like, you can't do that. You have to basically say, you can play this anywhere on any device, and they just never delivered that. So I'm like hoping that if they want to really basically, we're going to be the agnostic service, but it's a way to play high-end games. If you've got a good internet connection on your devices, you can play it, and we're reducing the barriers. We got any controller you want, you do it that way, whatever. So I'm hoping that's what they can do. They can just simplify their message and tell people this is a way to play, because most people don't want to buy a $1,800 gaming PC. I just bought a $1,500 laptop for gaming, and it makes a lot of noise, and that's with all the horsepower. But if I could play it well, and Mark, you've struggled with Stadia because you're a Mac guy, and it's like, how can I play this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using right now to record this, I'm using an iPad Pro. I really very rarely use my MacBook from 2013, my MacBook Pro, and that's really the only traditional computer in the house. My wife has an even older than mine MacBook Air, and that she rarely uses. So most of my stuff from video editing, and if you saw the Guru Avengers video, that was edited fully on an iPad Pro. The thing crunches through 4K video like I've never seen. So I don't really need anything more powerful than that for most of the stuff that I do, podcasting, video editing, and photos. So yeah, for me, my Xbox Series S is doing the heavy lifting when it comes to the games that I want to play. My Switch goes with me everywhere I go, and I have the iPad for anything else. So streaming so far has been a bit of a pain in the ass for me. So I will, for a second, I want to play devil's advocate here. And again, I don't really have a horse in this fight because I don't stream a lot of stuff, especially, through COVID kind of stuff and travel restrictions. Most of my stuff is here in the house, and so am I. So I don't need to stream much. But with Stadia now not developing first party exclusive stuff, Amazon Luna has said that they are really focusing on first party, basically in-house development. They want to ramp up their stuff. Xbox, of course, has made some wild acquisitions in the past year and seems to keep going. PlayStation now, I would say is definitely playing catch up, but still a cool way to play your PlayStation stuff on the go. And I don't know enough about GeForce Now and shadow gaming, but it seems like they're just kind of streaming things from your PC. So let's focus on Stadia, Luna, and Xbox, even those three. For Stadia to compete with those, what's the draw, especially when you're going up against, Amazon and Microsoft? Is that worrisome? You made a great point, Avery, of saying, they are still making a great sandwich, or maybe the best sandwich, but they're not making their own bread. But what happens when you have two shops next door that are making their own bread and delivering sandwiches that are almost as delicious or just as delicious? Is that a bad place for them to be in when these other studios are ramping up first party exclusives, first party stuff? Are you a little worried there, or are you still saying, like, what, Stadia's still got a jump on these guys? They're still putting money behind it. They're just doing it in different ways. You brought up the iOS and Android analogies. But is that still kind of worrisome?
Yeah, it's you bring up a good point, many good points, and I want to hit a couple of things. Number one, the value proposition of any streaming service, whether it's Stadia, Luna, Xbox streaming, any of them, is that it is a convenience factor that is not present with traditional consoles. With a traditional console or gaming PC, you have to be sitting in front of that box. If you are not sitting in front of your $2,000 PC, you are probably not getting the gaming value out of it. Yeah, there's like Steam Link and some other things that kind of work, but kind of sort of don't. But for the most part, you are not getting, if you're not sitting in front of your Xbox, mm-hmm. The Xbox is doing you no good. It's not actually, the games that are on it are not helping you if you're not right there in front of it. Whereas with Stadia, Luna, and Game Pass Ultimate, they're saying, well, you know what, let's make this worth your while when you're not there. So you may not be aware, you might be aware, you can actually take your Xbox controller, hook it up to your iPad, and play Stadia right now. You can do the exact same thing with Luna. And you can do the exact same thing with Xbox game streaming. I believe, I'm not 100% if that's released on iPad app yet or.
It's so the Xbox is kind of weird. So through the Xbox app, I can connect to my Xbox, but I can't just get the streaming stuff working yet. They haven't done that. They are going to apparently through 2022 or 2021 later in the year. They're apparently releasing. I think they're going browser based by what it sounds like. And
it's the same thing that Luna.
Yes.
Yeah, same thing that Luna and Stadia have had to do. So exactly. you have the luxury now with Stadia and Luna and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. The more it gets on the platforms, the purpose is, if I am sitting in front of my TV playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I'm playing it on my Chromecast or it will come to the new Chromecast at some point this year. They said first half of the year, or on your LG TV if they're going to have Stadia app and probably going to have GeForce Now, even though they pulled that part of the press release. But it's probably going to happen. So if you're sitting in front of that device and then the kids come in and they say, "Daddy, we want to watch Paw Patrol," and they don't want to watch it on the iPad, they want to watch it on the TV. No problem. You say, "Go ahead, sweetie." You reach down, you grab your iPad, you prop it up in your lap, and you just keep playing the game that you were just playing. And they start going, "Paw Patrol, yay, Paw Patrol!" And it's louder and louder. You're like, "All right, you guys watch Paw Patrol. Daddy's gonna go take a few minutes," and you go into the bedroom and you prop it up on the nightstand, and you just keep playing for a little while. And then you realize you go to the bathroom. That's fine. You take your phone and you throw it in a controller mount, and you go sit down on the toilet, and you just keep playing the exact same game there. Or you going back to your desk, and you're sitting at the desk, and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna play the next Call of Duty. Oh, they just released a patch, and it's 815 gigabytes. So, you know what? While that's downloading over the next 17 hours, let me play some games in my browser." And that's what they're saying, is they want it to be a convenience factor, that number one, no matter where you are, no matter what device you're looking at, you can play a video game. And they're close. The TV is the area where they haven't really got that yet, which ironically is the place most people play video games. But number two, that it's a hassle-free experience. No patches, no downloads, no waiting, no queuing, no nothing. You just click play, and the game is there. And that's the goal of all of these. That's the goal for Game Pass Ultimate as well. I had Game Pass Ultimate for a while, and played Crackdown 3 and played quite a few things and enjoyed it quite a bit. And on Game Pass Ultimate, the whole thing is I can take it in the bedroom, I can take it in the laptop. I don't have to be sitting in front of my $500 Xbox in order to get some utility out of it. Between these three platforms, so that's the appeal of streaming in general. Between these three platforms, they each have very different value propositions and very different audiences. Stadia is a platform that is very much, we in the Stadia community believe that they're really targeting people who don't already have a box. If you've got the $500 box in front of your TV, you don't really necessarily need Stadia. Now, you might want to have it so that you can go play in other rooms and do the other convenient factors and all that kind of thing. Cool beans. But chances are, if you're already playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla on your Xbox One X or your Series, you're not then gonna buy it on Stadia. That's just not a thing. And small sidebar detour. One of the most common complaints about any streaming service is, well, why would I buy the game again? You wouldn't. The same as if you bought a PS4 and then you bought an Xbox One X, but you already bought Assassin's Creed on the PS4, they're not just going to give you the game on the One X. It's a different platform. Same thing with streaming. Stadia is designed to be a platform. It's designed to sit on the same shelf in your mind as Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. So, of course, if you already bought the game somewhere else, you're not going to buy it again on Switch. That's fine. Detour over. So their proposition is, if you don't already have a box or you want another service, you're the person who would buy a PlayStation and an Xbox, but you don't want to drop $1,000, so you're going to buy a PlayStation and then get some games on Stadia, or you're going to buy an Xbox but get some game. If that's your proposition, then great. Stadia is perfect for you because it is a platform where you go buy games. They have a subscription. It's pretty good. I've gotten 70, 80 free games, free to claim games off of it. Yeah. I've been a founder from day one. Luna, completely different buying proposition. The Luna buying proposition is it's the Netflix of gaming, the thing that everybody said Stadia was going to be. That's what Luna is. You're going to pay one subscription fee and get these 60, 80, 100 games. Then if you want to, just like Amazon Prime does, we've got all these other channels you can buy. So just like you can buy the Showtime channel, and you can buy the Broadway HD channel, and you can buy the Smithsonian channel. Well, on Luna, you get this Luna the basic channel, and that gets you Control and Sonic Mania and
the Ubisoft channel, right? Yeah.
Now you can buy the Ubisoft Plano, and their whole thing is eventually we're going to have, not only are we going to have the EA channel and the Square channel and whatever other channels, but then maybe we're going to have the RPG channel where it's got a few games from Ubisoft and a few games from Square and a few games from, and then we're going to have the Fighters channel, we're going to have the Racing channel, we're going to have the Sports channel. So that's where they're going. They're going with the cable model, that. Whereas Game Pass Ultimate is going to be this is an extra cool thing we're going to give you just to get you to keep paying us the $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, because you can't pay for streaming separately at this point. So where I think that's the biggest mistake with Xbox right now, they need to make a $5 streaming Game Pass. At least with Google Play, it's just a movie. You don't have to worry about that as a platform. We're not worried about Google losing its movies. But with a game, it's $60, which is a huge investment. I think people say, well, what happens if that goes away? I've lost a lot of money versus I just paid $5 a month. So I think that's Avery, as a person that would say that. That's the biggest entry point of saying, you haven't told me how to get this stuff really well. You haven't given me a way to really access it unless I have a PC browser to a certain extent. And then you want me to pay $60 for a game. It's a great platform. The problem is their marketing has not been great. Someone that wants to play Cyberpunk that doesn't own a console or thing, I don't know what that marketplace is. And that's the problem. I don't know if Google ever figured that out. So I don't know what the opportunity is for Stadia. I don't know if Google stated this is the market we can go after. And does it even exist?
Yeah, I think I've said it before. That's a solution looking for a problem that I think is about 5 years too early. And I hope, because they seem to be setting a good example. And Avery, I think you've done a great job today explaining
it's a great service,
what the value proposition is and how it stands out above others. And as someone, I've never been shy about going digital with my content. I have like 200 movies on iTunes that, but to Todd's point, I'm not scared about Apple suddenly shutting down or shutting down my ability to watch those movies. iTunes can change to Apple Music or whatever they want to change it to, but I can still watch all of those movies. I get free 4K upgrades. It's very convenient, similar to how, Stadia is kind of working with no patches and no downloads and no this and no that. And I can stream in 4K and it's great. And that's how I watch a majority of the movies that I own when I'm not streaming through Netflix or something else. But yeah, I think, I think it is kind of that, solution, like I said, looking for a problem that, maybe if they can last, I think, the next few years and keep going with this, then I think you will find more people with more solid internet connections. 5G is rolling out in more and more places. I think you're going to hit a place where someone is, core gamers like us are going to look at this and say, why the hell am I buying the Xbox Series X2 XL X? Because, they're just going to throw some more X's in there.
If you can even buy it.
Well,
right now, you can't buy a PS5, you can't buy a Series X, and it's like
exactly.
Google say, hey, you can play it at an awesome level, and that's the challenge. And I guess the problem, I as a former Android owner, I just got notifications like, oh, my Google Play Music is going away now. I have to convert to another service, and it's just a constant reminder that Google keeps changing their services, and I don't even know what the most current. I guess I'm on YouTube Premium now.
There are two challenges. Sorry, there are two challenges that face Google that are present here. One of them is a trust problem, and the other one is a time problem. The trust problem is that there's this perfect. I hate, and I'm not going to say Peter Pan. I'm going to say the Google Graveyard. I hate the concept of the Google Graveyard. People like it because it's alliterative. That's it. It's the only reason people like it. The Google Graveyard is a myth. And here's why I can say that with a straight face. When you look at all of the products in the so-called Google Graveyard, you look at, well, they killed Google Plus. Yeah, but they took Google Photos, which was the only thing anybody liked about it, and Google Hangouts, which was the only thing anybody liked about it, and those live on. Well, they're killing Google Hangouts. They're migrating all of the tech underneath Google Hangouts to Google Meet, which is their Zoom competitor platform, because nobody's using Hangouts as a daily driver. They're using Messages because they took all the cool things from Google Allo, which they killed and moved them into Messages, which is an RCS client.
Avery, you're confusing me, unfortunately, though. That's the problem. It's just everything you're saying is like, but that means they have no consistency. And that, to me, that is a huge problem with a huge corporation. And it just leads me to think that Google is a underlying platform. They're not a consumer-facing platform, which is they even challenged with that their TV platform. It was Android TV. Then it's going to Google TV. If Stadia is going to succeed, they have to get out there in front and say, this is why you need it, and this is how you're going to play it, and you're going to play it everywhere. It can't be, maybe it'll come to your Chromecast. Luna, Amazon, if anything, they're going to sell you a device to get their services super cheap. They're going to give you Prime to get there. Xbox, which is putting it against a $15 a month barrier, which I don't know if anybody's got this solved, but that's where it's so confusing, and I don't know where we're going to be in a year. And maybe we won't get where we expect.
And that's the time problem. And it's the problem that faces all of these cloud streaming services. When you look at the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Famicom, released in 1983. It'll be 40 years old in just 2 years. Nintendo's been at this for 4 decades. PlayStation, Sony's been at this for 3 decades. Microsoft has been at this for 2 decades. Stadia and Luna have been at it for 2 years or less.
Absolutely.
And they just don't have the time. They don't have the benefit of time. And we're in this weird, they could not have launched these things at a worse time than the middle of a global pandemic, where one of the side effects of COVID-19 was that time stopped working properly. And so time is either extremely fast, extremely slow. It was August yesterday. Tomorrow it's going to be March. And then the day before that it was June, and time just does not work properly anymore. So everybody looks at these services and says, well, why aren't they better? Because they've only been out for 14, 15, 16 months. Luna's only been out for like 5 months in a beta, and there's only a few 100,000 people that even have it. So that's and of course, this all hit when the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series was coming out. So they could not have been, this all couldn't have happened at both the best time when everybody was stuck at home and streaming became a big thing, and the worst time when nobody understands how time works and there's a brand new console release anyways. I think in 10 years, if we come back to this conversation, there will either be a Stadia that's been doing really well for 10 years and a Luna that's been doing really well for 10 years, and xCloud, very well, there might even be another box from Xbox. It might just be streaming because that's where they want to go with this. They've made it pretty clear. Or it's going to be exactly what happened. Nope, this is not where we need to be right now. And we're going to drop back and punt. And, just like happened a decade ago with Gaikai and OnLive, there's some references that nobody remembers.
Absolutely.
We tried this once already. The world was not ready for it. This could all collapse by the end of this year. And if it does, we're just going to come back to it in 5 years. I have no doubt in my mind that streaming is the way that everyone will get their games in a decade from now. Just like you're not buying CDs anymore, and most people aren't buying single tracks or single albums. It's just your Spotify subscription, your Apple Music subscription. People, DVDs kind of sort of, but for the most part, it's Netflix, Hulu. I think that's going to happen to games, but we may very well be 5 or 10 years out from that being the daily life. And with a brand new console generation just hitting, that just prolonged that. If PlayStation Now and Xbox basically get to a point where they say, the next box is the last box, we're just not going to do it again, it's going to be a stick that you plug into the back of your TV, that's when this whole thing changes. And maybe Stadia will be around to see it. Maybe not. Maybe Luna will be around to see it. Maybe not. GeForce and Shadow, whatever. But regardless, it's kind of a cool moment for us all to be in. We've got these big companies taking big risks to do a brand new thing in gaming, a space which has only ever really seen Nintendo do anything interesting. Everybody else is basically just the next box under the TV. Oh, we went from 30 frames to 60. Claps for you. Like, it's kind of interesting to be at this moment and see what happens. I'm excited.
My company went hard against Quibi. It's a 6-month experiment, and they lost like $3 billion. It's kind of crazy.
All I can say is Stadia lasted longer than Quibi.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I love I love this kind of thing and just seeing where it's going. And I love your approach to it. That you're saying, like, I hope it is around in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. And they last through this weird, awkward teenage phase or beginner phase or whatever. But I also love content being produced around that. And because I think that's when you get some interesting content, when you're just talking about, like you said, like, oh, this box can make prettier squares than the last box can. But when it's something weird, like, and that's what I really liked about starting a Nintendo podcast back when the Wii U was a thing. Like, that was the stupidest time that we could have possibly started a Nintendo podcast, my brother and I, but we did, and it was so much fun. And we ended up meeting people like, Todd and the Nintendo Guru and all these people who were making other cool, fun video content and, or video game content. And now, we're seeing this now with Stadia and different shows that are coming out around this, because it's an exciting avenue of talking. You don't know what's going to happen next, and something could flop, but then that could change into something else. And it's an exciting time for sure.
The tech that is coming out of this is the key. That's the other reason that I'm really not worried about Stadia dying. I'm really not worried about these platforms dying, because what they are doing is proving that the tech will work.
Yeah.
Even if Stadia gets killed by Google, what we see over and over again is, and this happens in all software, you take the best parts of it, you recycle that into the next project, and you move on. So whatever comes after Stadia is just going to be that much better and will make game streaming happen that much better. Whatever comes after Luna will just make game streaming better. Whatever comes after xCloud will just make game streaming better. So if it dies tomorrow, I will have enjoyed everything that I enjoyed so far. I got most of my games for free, so I'm really not that much the cost. Either free because of review codes or free because of Stadia Pro. And so, yeah, I think the future is bright in this avenue. I think gamers, there's a member of the Stadia creator community. I'll give him a shout out. His handle is MM2K, and he says that we are playing on the worst version of cloud streaming today that we will ever play, because it will only ever get better in every subsequent day.
And that's completely true because of my internet tonight, as you saw it. It just got crazy. And just imagine this, gentlemen, that Apple doesn't even care about gaming, and they have our Apple Arcade that's probably made a ton of money for them, and they actually don't even care yet.
$40 for me every month.
Yeah, we don't know where it's all headed, and I cannot wait. And you said Gaikai, that became PlayStation Now, and look where they're at. So it's kind of crazy. We didn't even touch on GeForce Now and all that other stuff. So I think this is exciting, and I hope it goes well. And I think if Stadia doesn't even exist as a service, it's going to be the backbone for other gaming services in the future. So this could all change.
You will end up being directed to cloud.easports.com.
Yeah.
cloud.squareenix.com. That is exactly where this is all heading, and eventually just everybody's going to be on somebody's cloud, and then that's all there is to it. Even Facebook got into games.
Oh yeah,
they're streaming terrible crap like shovelware games, but they're trying. I use liberal air quotes, so everybody sees this as the way that things are going, and you can play Stadia on your Tesla screen. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Yeah. So, guess what? Cool. Somebody's going to want to do gaming on YouTube, and guess where they're going to have to go to? Probably Stadia is the backbone. So it's not a loss leader. It's just a investment in something that's going to happen and people are going to use. So awesome. Wow. We covered a lot. Avery, we tried not to cause you much pain. So with that, though, Avery, tell people how they can find you and talk more about Stadia, the stuff you love.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to find me online, you can follow me on Twitter at CharmCityA, because I live in Charm City and my first initial is A. You can also check me out on Stadia Source, your number one source for Stadia news and reviews. That is stadiasource.com, or head to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/StadiaSource. I host the Stadia Source Roundtable podcast Monday nights, streaming live on YouTube, or you can catch us on your favorite podcatcher afterwards. Just search Stadia Source. I also stream a little bit of game streaming on the weekends. I have a show called Charm City's Community Playground where I invite people to come on stream and play with me. I also just recently launched a new show called the Stadia Game Show, where we don't actually play video games. We play game shows like Wheel of Fortune and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but Stadia themed.
Oh, wow.
Cash prize stuff. So it's weird. I do weird stuff on the internet, and it's all somehow Stadia related. So there you go.
Keep it weird, man. That's what makes the internet awesome. Awesome. Thank you for being on the show. Absolutely pleasure. And
it's a ton of fun. Yeah.
You've got an invite to Secret Friends Unite to talk about, non-video game stuff. So we will be
your actual secret friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. No longer a secret.
I would like to thank the Academy for this.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. So, Mark, how do people find out where we exist on the interwebs?
Well, that's a loaded question because we exist in a whole bunch of places. But the easiest one to find us is probably on Twitter, _opmode_pod. The_Canardian is where you can find me, and Todd is T Oxtra. You can listen to the rest of the Secret Friends shows, Secret Friends Unite, Code 47, Holocron Chronicles on both podcast services everywhere. Please leave us reviews. They help a whole lot. And Todd's been busy at work relaunching, getting the YouTube channel back up and running, getting all the shows on there. Todd, you've been doing an amazing job getting everything up there, getting all the artwork ready to go. So please go over and subscribe if that's where you prefer to listen to or watch podcasts. We don't have much on the video side so far, but you can look at the logo and just kind of have it on in the background if YouTube is your jam. And also, if you want another way to support us or really support some charities that we also support, you can find our TeePublic store for Secret Friends merch and more, where you can find t-shirts and mouse pads and stickers and a whole bunch of really fun stuff, including our updated Secret Friends logo that your son just updated, right, Tom?
Oh yeah, I gave him a challenge and he did it. Well, that is it for the show, everyone. Thank you, Mark, Avery, you've been awesome. But with that, we always say it's always better to game together.